Sasha Banks and Naomi, they have this company scrambling in ways that I haven't seen. It's in a long while, to be frank. There are a lot of people that have, surmised what may be happening, at least from Sasha's perspective. Naomi's kind of seems like a secondary piece in this thing because everyone kind of defaults to worrying about Sasha.
Yeah, it's that is also like Sasha's been a squeaker wheel for way longer.
Yeah, like obviously she had to, in 2019 she requested her release back in April of 2019 before not showing up for a while, but WWE's gone out of their way to bury these women in a very nasty way. On their television, on their official social media channels. And I was quite shocked when I saw like Michael Cole just looking dead into the camera. Pat McAfee had this look on his face like I ain't got shit to do with this.
Right.
And
the faces he was making was like, I ain't got shit to do with this. I'm learning this as y'all are, and like I think y'all tripping. So he kept making these faces like, y'all bugging the fuck out over and over. Y'all bugging. Y'all are bugging and bugging and bugging. So like Pat McAfee did a very well for himself during the faces. He knew like let me remove myself from y'all bullshit because there will be time for me to have some credibility as a wrestling fan outside of y'all nonsense. And he did well with it. Even if it was intentional or not, he did himself a big favor by making those faces. He really did.
Shouts out to T Mess, first time commenter. He said Cole looked like he was reading the kidnapper's demands when he was reading that. I think they basically announced that Sasha and Naomi were stripped of the championships that they turned in and walked away from, and they would be having a tournament full of who knows who to have the new champions crown. We know those titles will be paper titles whenever they do them. Not really so much the important thing here, but as far as them just shitting on Sasha and Naomi, telling them they disappointed millions of fans. They, when it looks like there was a situation where they may have left the building before the show was started, WWE knew they left, decided to go ahead and advertise anyway just to be able to say, oh, these people did not make their booking. Meanwhile, we saw SummerSlam last year. This company will change some shit in a heartbeat. So like I don't know if they
it false advertise all the time.
Yeah, like I don't know where they get off doing that. They are trying to win a war of PR against two women who are very beloved that would split the WWE fan base right in half, honestly. And it's interesting to see. Like I've seen some folks that I know normally fuck with Sasha and Naomi. Like they've come out very hard for Sasha. They realize what's going on. And Naomi, they're like, this is bullshit. And then others are like just hook, line, and sinker WWE, like, they're ungrateful and all this stuff. And all this goes back to, James, like, this Sasha thing, like, this does not start with her on Monday night. This starts with her when she got moved out the way, like I've been saying for months, like, without it having confirmed or anything like that. I'm like, if you just look at what was happening, it was going to be Charlotte and Sasha. That's why they pulled that program in the end of last year to basically separate Sasha away from that to have them fight at WrestleMania. And at least she's there in the big spot, in the title match, whatever. And then all of a sudden, she has to get happy out of nowhere to be in a tag team. We have to have people trying to tell us this matters because it's Sasha and Naomi. It's like, no, she got moved out the way for Ronda Rousey, who in 2022 is not a bigger star than Sasha Banks, especially to Sasha Banks. Like, good luck convincing Sasha Banks of this. And you think about this woman, that all she has done is watch Vince McMahon push Alexa Bliss, Charlotte, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch over her for years,
Mm-hmm.
despite all of them being combined, never being able to touch her in the ring. Like, never being able to, like, connect with, like, the hold that Sasha has had on people, even with, like, an eighth of the push. Like, it's like Becky Lynch was like, took off, right? But I'm like, there's nothing that happened with Becky Lynch that made me think that couldn't have been Sasha if the company was committed to her at all.
Um, I think I get where you're getting at. I think that Becky is so much better of a promo than Sasha that I'm not necessarily sure, but I do absolutely get where you're coming from. And like, quite frankly, like Sasha should have been the one period to start out the box between those, or really, like those two. It should have been Charlotte and Sasha going back and forth, like kind of like what they were doing in 2016. And then like once they broke them apart, like they should have been the aces of both brands. And like ultimately, that's not what they did. They kept them together on the same brand. Moved Becky over to SmackDown, and then like after she was the first champion, like they basically like moved her over to go with Alexa Bliss, and then we had to deal with that garbage for a year or 2 years, whatever else. And then like everyone looked around, was like, Becky and Sasha are so much better than her. What the fuck are we doing here with Alexa Bliss? And then like then the Becky and Charlotte stuff happened, and they fucked up the booking, and the crowd wasn't going for it, and we are where we are now. Like they had 4 stars, all 4 of them became stars. None of them are as over as they should, or for as long as they've been around, none of them ever were sustained as long as they should have, because like Vince is a net booker and picked the wrong people to like have programs with them at the wrong time. And outside of like the 2018-19 Becky stuff, you're kind of looking at it like, yeah, we had some great matches. Yes, we had some great moments of great feuds, but like this ain't exactly King's Road here.
Yeah, not at
Right?
all.
Like, yeah, so and like I don't want to say like it was some disaster, because like quite frankly, like they're 4 of the most influential people in like my wrestling journey, if you will, the last or since we started doing the show. Like they're super important to me, and all of them, and I love all of them, even though like I don't really care for what they do anymore because WWE has them doing bullshit. But it's going back, trying to bring this back to focus more on the Sasha thing. Like you mentioned that the part where she got moved around at WrestleMania, and it's like, you're right, it is about that, but it goes back even further to like, this is her second time with these fucking tag titles, these cursed fucking tag titles.
Third time.
Where like, well, as far as shit going bad.
Yeah.
It was like, she wanted to make these things matter to where you have the women's division doing things besides just having the contender of the month and the champion. That's all that matters for now until it's time to get the next person ready. And then like, because it's, because there's no focus on a secondary thing, it's really hard to build new contenders. And
this is where WWE was dishonest with their women's revolution thing, right? Because they put out a lot of propaganda that WWE is ridden off of for years. They'll give you a championship match that has a Becky and Bianca in it, right? But then the next day, there's like 90 women in a tag team match. Like
the best example, the real best example of that is like, they'll give you undefeated Asuka versus Charlotte in a great match, and the next day they take the fucking belt off of Charlotte after breaking Asuka's undefeated streak because they need to get it to Carmella, and then like have the Iconics like beat up Charlotte.
Like the obvious answer for WWE in regards to it being more fair for what to do with women and to get things going outside of the championship picture was to take some time from the funky ass dudes. Like as far as like, why are we seeing an extra Baron Corbin match? Like rather than, like the answer was always push more women as far as like them having the grounds to do it. They had the audience that was accepting of it.
Because they had put in the work to make stars out of it.
So, and it was like, we didn't actually want like a division, right? They wanted, okay, we have one match for the belt. And the women's divisions are so much different from the men's divisions because
especially now.
because the men's divisions, if you say it like that, like there are different spots allowed within the hierarchy under the title. I often talk about watching wrestling through only a championship prism being a limiting experience, but in women's wrestling it's not like that, and it's not like that in AEW, it's not like that in WWE. It's like, yo, whoever's the champion is getting on the show, period. Right? They're the one getting the matches typically. They're the ones getting the segment. If you're not the champion, it's hard to work a program with someone else and then have that time carved out elsewhere for you. And in Sasha's case, she was like, I do not want the tag team titles and me having these used in that same ass way that you've done to prop up the singles champion and put us all in this singular program. It's like the answer should be, like, even if it seems like a lesser program, and I'm very disappointed in Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez for not seeing this, like, and looking at this in such a limited way, where it was like they're thinking like, you're wrestling Ronda in a big spot. What would you rather do between this and defend the tag team titles against Nikki or Doudrop or whatever? And it's like, it's not necessarily about Ronda. It's about carving the opportunities. Obviously, Sasha does not want to be fed to Ronda Rousey right now. It doesn't make sense.
Especially because he's already done that.
It doesn't make sense, and it's like,
right. If we were in a men's promotion that was ran well, like, and you recognize that Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks are two of your, let's say, 5 biggest stars or whatever else, you wouldn't just have somebody just come out here and just beat them over back to back at big spots way apart from each other. Like, you would build towards, like, win one, win a second one. We're going to be a rubber match down the road that you're going to get in a year, and that's going to be at a bigger show. That's not how they do it in WWE because they're inept.
Yep, and then Naomi getting a here damn title match out of it, like like no, and then and what Brian was doing, and shout out to Mike Sempervive for basically calling Alvarez to the carpet, like saying, yo, you're not seeing this through the lens of these two women, let alone these two black women. I don't know if Mike was that specific, but I feel like I speak Sempervive and I know what he was trying to do and say, but Alvarez doesn't, like, he short circuits on A, when it comes to Sasha Banks.
Yeah,
and B,
always.
Like, when it
Who's
comes,
the heel?
Yeah.
The ones that's saying the thing to get booed, or Brian, like, come on, you I get what you're saying, that they're both acting like heels, but it's WWE. This company is bad at this.
Right.
Just stop playing dumb. You know what's going on here.
Right. And and I can't take anyone seriously that doesn't realize, like, how, to the degree Sasha Banks has been fucked around in this company. And I don't know if she'll ever be back at this rate. Like, the suspension, they pulled their merch, they yanked their Facebook pages, so they can't make money, they can't do anything really. Like, who knows if their contracts are frozen? There are people with theories out there that think this is something like where there's a 6-week term in, like, their contracts that will allow them to not freeze it because it may expire during a certain point. There's a great post on Squared Circle Reddit about it. That
go into that because I don't know any of this.
So this is a person that, I'm gonna read out their thing. They said, let them lay out some facts. Sasha's, in her own words, on the Broken Skull session in 2019. She walked out April 8th of 2019. She canceled her TV appearances that day and went on leave. This was after the initial AEW press conference and before the Warner announcement. She says that on Broken Skull that she asked Vince for her release in person, and Vince told her no and tacked on 30 days, and she went to Japan. She was in Japan on July 2019 via her Instagram. Like, you can check it right now. So this person thinks she likely asked for her release in late June, and Vince said no, going by her interview. So it plays like she was planning to leave and go to AEW, screwed up the timing, and Vince froze her contract to add extra time. We'll get to that later. And eventually offered her a bigger contract than she was willing to pass on. So that was the re-signing and, the extension that she signed or whatever. Kaz had reported, said something about her deal that was essentially what Dave said a week before that, that her expiration in 2019 was extended for likely 3 years, so that would put her in June 2022 now.
Okay.
This person thinks that she likely thought that she was out when she went in to ask for her release, and then Vince sprung the extra days on her because she missed the freeze clause in her contract. So then they go into language about the WWE contracts. There's if a wrestler is unable to wrestle for 6 consecutive weeks for any reason, due or without limitation due to an injury while performing services at the promoter's discretion, the promoter has the right to terminate this agreement or suspend the wrestler without pay and or extend the terms of this agreement for a period equal to the time of the inability to wrestle. There's like a lot of legal jargon that you guys can check out. I'll put the link to it in the chat in just a moment. But the simple version of that is if a wrestler misses 6 weeks or more during their contract, then WWE can tack that onto their contract end date. So how does that apply here? Sasha's key, her contract, if it's less than 6 weeks, they can't freeze her.
Mm-hmm.
So if
and in theory, they think that she's within 6 weeks.
Yes, like if they think she's less than 6 weeks, then WWE can't freeze her. So this is why they're not firing her, for one, and then two, they've just yanked her merch, they've buried her, and done all this other stuff. I don't know Naomi's deal, but as far as Sasha's detail and information, people are putting this stuff kind of together, and she would be free before June 26th. And what is June 26th?
Would that be Forbidden Door?
It would be, James. So I'm going to drop this link if you guys want to check it out. This guy goes into even more detail about it. So this is incentive for you guys that are hearing this later to come join the live stream. So I'm gonna hook the live viewers up with this. So what do you make of that whole thing, James?
It's a lot of it's educated guesses based off of what people have said about regarding her deal, but we don't actually know the details of her deal.
Right.
So like it's interesting to see. I didn't know that she was up. I figured that she had she re-signed for 5. Yeah, if it's interesting to see, and it also makes me wonder, like, because she's been through it before, she thinks she's learned her lesson. Like, I would have just played the whole thing out, like, done the Jon Moxley thing and been like, I'll write this out.
Yeah.
I'll write this out, and then I'm fucking out of here the day it hits, and I'm gone. I'm never coming back, or whatever, or I'm going to Hollywood or wherever it is. But this isn't how she wanted to play it. And whatever she felt was best. Cool. I just, that's just not what I would have done. Now, as far as the Naomi thing and people thinking that, like, because Sasha's been has talked about and been public and demonstrated that, like, she's not putting up with their bullshit nearly as much as Sasha, that people think, like, there are people that think that, like, Sasha is, like, corrupting this woman that's her senior is, like, that's cute. Like, it's really cute because Naomi is so nice and, like, took
all the stuff out of bios too.
Yeah, like, people think, like, she's just following along with her friend. It's like, you don't think they've had these conversations of them being sick of their bullshit? Come on now.
Like, how long has Naomi been, like, not done shit with, like, in this company where,
right? And Naomi had a 4-star match this year.
Look, they're not, and, like, in WWE, they're not requiring her to wrestle at a certain level, like, and even if she did,
Rich,
on a one-off,
she had a fucking 4-star match with Charlotte on SmackDown, like, in, like, February this year. Legit, I watched it. I went on my way to watch it. I was like, holy shit, like, this is the best Naomi singles match I think I've ever seen, right? And I'm just like, okay, so the talk used to be that she wasn't a good wrestler. The talk used to be that, like, we don't know if this will work as far as being over. Everything along the lines of, like, why Naomi may have not gotten a shot in, like, great physique, great smile, turns heads in the airport. At least you would turn my fucking head. Can wrestle, Stick does the flying stuff in a way that sticks are unique for the rest of the roster. Her gear, her look,
instantly
unique
connects.
for everything else. It's the over in her fan base. Always been over in every arena she's been in since like 2017. Since at least that, and it's like, what does this woman have to do to get a fucking shot? Oh, not be black, not be dark skinned. Okay, fuck you. Like this been the case for her for years, and like. For me, like once I saw her had that match with Charlie a few months ago, I was like, all right, enough is enough. Like before, I used to think she was just good. Maybe she still is just good. And that was a fluke. You know how many sorry motherfuckers I see on American television have crummy matches every fucking week? Come on, what are we doing?
Yep, and it is a it's hard to look at how they've treated Sasha and Naomi and take them seriously as far as like anything like relating to black people, let alone black women. Like, you know, like do y'all have a rule of only one? Like, you know, if this is what you want to tell us, I mean, I don't. That's kind of what you're showing us right now.
No, we can't possibly pushing Naomi, Bianca, and Sasha.
Too many.
You know, we can't feature three of them. No, that's ridiculous. What are you acting like they're blonde?
Look, and Luthero Negro in the comments. Now they only got one. So right now, and you start looking at the way this company is like, I don't know if it is necessarily them that has done this or some of their fans who have tried to weaponize, WWE, but. You know, we start talking about the variety and the diversity, and it starts drying up very fast without Sasha and Naomi on the roster when you start looking around.
I mean, okay, so non-whites in the women's division, it would be like Raquel, Asuka, Bianca,
Zelina.
That it?
That might be it, unless I'm forgetting some. Tamina.
Yes, Tamina. I forgot about Tamina.
Tamina time.
And then you could throw in like our people that phenotypically look white but are not like Pam, like Bailey, and like Shayna. So you start throwing those in, and it's like then you're like, okay, and then the rest is a white ass roster, and like it is what it is. But it's like this isn't what we, you know, people were talking about the diversity of the women's division and of the roster, is like that women's division is looking, you know, less and less different. Like we've come a long way, especially after all these firings. Like we have come along. Like they have really, like, you know, they look a lot less diverse now. And we're gonna see, like, people talk about how big representation was for WWE for them to like it, and then like it's gonna be less of it in the coming months and years, and seemingly, and
it's almost like the game has got to switch on some ludicrous shit, James.
And don't get me wrong, that's not WWE's fault that people prop them up on that, but like I'm necessarily talking about the people that like said that like this is why like the wrestling is necessarily better because it's so different people doing it. And it's like.
No,
I don't know what it has to do with the quality of the television, but whatever. If you see someone that looks like you on the screen, I'm happy for you. That's not what I'm here for necessarily. I'm here to see good, you know, entertain people talk, charismatic shit, and people beat the hell out of each other. So anything between that is kind of like, you know, anything that it's extra cool, but like. But like, we're not gonna pretend like this problem isn't like a problem that WWE can solve. Like this is a societal problem, not WWE or AEW or Stardom or New Japan or Noah or Dragon Gate or Freedoms or Seedling or Ice Ribbon or GCW or anything in between. Like this is a problem of systematic inequality and all that other stuff, and like that's so far beyond our fake fighting thing that like people got tied up into this, and it's kind of like, okay, do you like wrestling or not? If you do, I hope you still watch it. If you feel like this is the thing that's going to stop you from enjoying it, you ain't got to watch it. And I'm not going to hold no problems to you. But I just kind of find it misguided that like this is what you like this wrestling over this one because there's people that look like you on it. Like I can understand it to an extent, but for me, it's like there's so much wrestling out there you can find what you're looking for. There just is.
They're gonna be finding Nikita Lyons, pretty soon. Like that's who they got to push, So it'll be just like almost the package, but not quite. They're gonna send her out there, So, yeah, but as far as Sasha and Naomi go,
Nope. Before we go on from there, I gotta say it. The thoughts and opinions of Rich Law does not necessarily reflect those that belong to James Boyd. James Boyd just along for the ride. Just to let y'all know that like this fool said that, and I ain't got nothing to do with it. That's up to him. Like, what's your Twitter?
Oh, it's on the screen.
Oh, I know your Twitter is. Yeah, relay whatever thoughts and feelings you have what Rich has said to at Rich Lotta 80 or sorry at Rich Lotta. I'm gonna say my number. No, at Rich Lotta 32 32.
Hey, you aware of the Channing Tatum effect?
Yeah,
like Naomi, but safer.
Not quite like Naomi.
Sings. Dances. I'm gonna leave it there. Oh man. Yeah.
You're out of your mind.
Watch how it plays out. Watch how it plays.